The Doctor in the TARDIS. Next stop, everywhere.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, back in the TARDIS once again, ready to talk some classic Doctor Who with my Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast co-host with the most. Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, Xan Sprouse. Hi, everybody.
Thanks for having me,
Hi,
Charles.
Xan. How you
is
doing?
Fun.
Yeah, welcome back.
I like switching up the geeky topics with you. It's always a good time.
Yeah, no. If you've listened to us on Ghostwood, you know that obviously we talk Twin Peaks, we talk David Lynch, and a whole crap ton of pop culture references.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. So if you enjoy that, hopefully you do. Or if you've heard Xan previously here on Next Stop Everywhere, you know that she's all kinds of crazy fun, and we're in for a fun ride today, I like to think, because here at episode 159, we're going to talk Terror of the Autons.
Terror.
Dun, dun,
Yep.
dun. And, of course, this is the first serial from season 8 way back in 1971, written by Robert Holmes, who wrote such classics from the classic era as Spearhead from Space, Pyramids of Mars, The Brain of Morbius, and one of yours truly's favorite episodes, The Caves of Androzani.
Oh,
So
see
and
now.
more, all kinds of. He's one of Doctor Who's best writers from the classic era, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's written a lot of home runs.
Spearhead from Space is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Also.
He also introduced Sarah Jane and the Time Warrior, and had a hand in her final story, The Hand of Fear, no pun intended.
Right.
And so lots of other great stories. So his last one was like he did the two Doctors in the Colin Baker era, and even did Trial of the Time Lord, but sadly he died during that. So yeah.
Yes, he did.
So anyway, so great contributor to Doctor Who, and one of my favorite writers, and this story is no exception in my opinion. So this one's directed by Barry Letts, and of course stars Jon Pertwee as the Third Doctor, and making her debut on Doctor Who, Katy Manning as Josephine Jo Grant.
Yep.
Yeah. So what was it about this story that you wanted to discuss before we get into our guest cast?
Well, you remember me just now saying how much I love Spearhead from Space?
Mm-hmm.
It's because I love the Autons.
Yeah.
I think
you're one of your favorite Doctor Who monsters.
I really like the Autons. I think they're very creepy because, and if you remember Rose,
Right.
the first Christopher Eccleston episode, they bring out that scary mannequin, scary doll trope for everybody.
Right.
So I think they hone in on a lot of different fears. You've got
that whole faceless plastic automaton.
Faceless plastic drone automaton, alien controlled by an evil person. All those fears are kind of rolled up into one with the Autons, and I think they're an underrated and underused adversary on Doctor Who.
Yeah, I do too. I do too, because obviously we've only seen them once in the modern era.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and I personally
that was in
like
Rose.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was in Rose, and they definitely that was an homage to Spearhead from Space. They wanted Russell,
we did kind of see them in Pandorica Opens in the Matt Smith era, too.
at Pandorica. Yeah, we did see them a little bit,
but not in a starring role, really.
No, not in the same way. And Russell T Davies did. He has said that he loved them too, and that's part of why he wanted to start his new Doctor Who with the Autons. Personally, if you said, would you like to see an Auton episode or a Cybermen episode, I would pick Autons.
Interesting.
Nothing wrong with the Cybermen. I just really like the Autons. I think.
Is it just because the Cybermen are more played out, and the Autons aren't?
Cybermen feel like humanoid Daleks to me.
Yeah.
They sort of feel like.
Well, they were the Borg. They were the Borg before the Borg on Star Trek.
They're the Borg before the Borg, but then again, so are the Daleks. I feel like.
Yeah.
The Daleks. They've got their Davros to their Borg queen. So, but that's sort of like, okay, this formula of
the hive mind mentality.
The hive mind, the alien robot, the evil alien robots that come from another planet to try and destroy us all. And I don't know what it is about the Daleks that I think is scarier. I think that just the fact that they will eliminate you with their little laser and their little plunger, even though they can't climb stairs. I mean, there is something goofy about that, but also terrifying that they will still thwart you with all of their weaknesses and all of their limitations. They'll still thwart you. Whereas I think Cybermen, I do like the Cybermen, but I like the Autons better because Cybermen, they sometimes have that thing where they malfunction and they walk into walls and stuff. They're your typical robot, robot trope. But I feel like
you mean kind of like the Autons when their connection to the nestings is cut, and they kind of like amble around the field like, where am I? What's going on? What's happening?
Right, but I feel like with the Autons, there's something a little bit more creative about it, because with the Autons, you have this alien race that is sort of a nebulous shape. And even the doctors say, well, what do they look like? Well, they kind of look they like to take shape of something else and they prefer plastic.
Right.
That what happens is when their connection is broken, they let go of the matter that they are inhabiting. Whereas the Cybermen are just Cybermen and they're just, they lose their internet connection. They all just fall over, but they're still, when they go back to their home planet, they'll still look like the Cybermen. Whereas the Autons, they're just using the plastic because they're here on Earth and the plastic works for them. They can bring it to life. It's malleable. And I just think there's something so scary about this everyday object that when you think about it is everywhere in your house, all over the place. And especially in the late 60s, early 70s, where everything was going to plastic, we started seeing, plastic shampoo bottles, plastic was like being touted as this safe alternative to glass at the time.
Tupperware parties.
All kinds of things or even, think about The Graduate. I got one word for you. Plastics. It was in the ether as being this new futuristic thing, and now here comes Doctor Who, and it says, yes, but they will kill you.
Yeah. Well,
that's one
of the great things about Doctor Who is that it takes like everyday ordinary items and makes you afraid of them.
Right. Exactly. And so I think that
this story is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and I think they're very much so. I think they're underused and underappreciated. So I do love the Autons. So that's what drew me to this episode when you gave me a list of
options
of episodes you wanted to do, and I'm like, Autons. Yep. I'm calling it. I'm calling the Autons.
You did. You were adamant about that, and that was awesome.
And
I was really glad because I've been trying to get Jesse Jackson to talk about that with me here. I think I told you this, and he kept ducking me on this. He didn't seem at all interested. I'm like, how can you not be? This is the first. This is the first Joe Grant episode. This is the first Master episode.
Right.
The Autons are in it for like there's only second story ever. Hell, we even get Captain Yates, Mike Yates, for the first time here in this one.
Exactly.
So this is like the Pertwee, TARDIS team, the unit team.
Seriously.
For the first time. And you don't think that's, important enough to discuss? So this is me going, but. Yeah.
Jesse though, and we talked about this when we all got together.
Yeah.
For our big mega
next stop 150. Yeah.
For our big mega supergroup episode that you did.
Yeah, that was insane, wasn't it?
That was we did a pretty good job of giving everybody a chance to talk. I was pretty impressed with us, but Jesse is a new Who fan.
Yes, he is.
He became a Doctor Who fan with the Russell T Davies series.
Right.
So he doesn't have that affinity for the
beginnings.
What's the word? How do I want to put this?
The origins.
The origins and the endearing cheesiness that is original Doctor Who.
The eccentric nature of Doctor Who.
The eccentricity and the endearing eccentricity that is original Doctor Who.
Right.
And because I remember, Jesse and Christine were both saying, what is it about this episode? They find out it's Daleks and then they just give up. And you and I are saying, but that's how scary the Daleks are. You and me and Nick are like, that's why, because they're Daleks, they're horrible.
Yeah, so Nick was on our side on that one.
Well, Nick,
because he marathoned the entire series.
Right.
So he knew what we were talking about.
Completist has, got all that stuff. So that these are extremely terrifying. And, Daleks are the terrifying Doctor Who. They are the Moriarty to the Doctor Who Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
So they are the ultimate adversary for the Doctor. So, but yeah, with you and I, starting in with classic Who, and not, for me, not necessarily watching it religiously or being able to watch it religiously or being able to have a lot of access to it because we were at the mercy of whatever PBS was going to be willing to show us.
Yep.
We got what we got. So, and apparently, and I completely forgotten about this. Apparently, I just really like episodes of Doctor Who that have a circus in them.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's a good point because, you were here previously talking about the greatest show in the galaxy.
That's right.
And here we are with another circus episode. So,
I know.
So I'm just like, well, crap, man, are there any more classic stories with a circus theme? Maybe Carnival of Monsters, perhaps? I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, no, but yeah, that's the thing.
That seems to be our thing.
Autons are terrifying. Circuses are terrifying. The Master's terrifying.
Right.
This
Master is Rico Suave.
Oh, I love Roger Delgado.
Roger Delgado, yes.
He is so, like, when you see a picture of somebody you don't like and you draw like a beard and angry eyebrows on them.
Right.
That's what he just looks like.
Yeah. He's like okay, let's turn evil Spock into a Doctor Who bad guy.
Seriously, he's like a cartoon devil. He's perfect.
Yeah, he's the Mirror Universe Spock. That's it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
He's perfect. You just look at him and you go, bad guy.
Right. He's like sinister eyes because he does have this very sinister expression. And it's nothing of Roger Delgado, who reportedly was like a really nice person.
No, you just give him that beard and those eyebrows, and all of a sudden he's able to just deliver.
And he's like, staring at people intently because he's hypnotizing half of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like all dressed prim and proper with his widow's peak receding hairline. Yeah.
He's like some sort of cartoon devil Houdini looking type guy. I mean, he's got the look. It's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was funny because I was watching the episode and Chris walked in and he said, "Who's the discount Terrence Stamp?" And I was like, that's the Master. You need to show a little respect.
Exactly.
But yeah,
kneel before Master. No.
He had not seen it in so long, but he's like, "Yeah, who's the discount Terrence Stamp?" And I'm like, that is Roger Delgado right there. He is Terrence Stamp for television.
Exactly.
And again, Terrence Stamp, you put the beard on him, you're like, bad guy.
Yep. Terrence Stamp's
Immediately.
long-lost older brother, I guess.
Seriously, immediately he's a bad guy when you give him the right kind of facial hair. He's just good at having that look.
Exactly.
So,
but he did have such a definitive look, and especially when, like in other episodes, when he's rocking that Nehru jacket.
Yep.
Straight out of a James Bond movie. So.
Exactly. And I can't stand the Master for a couple of reasons. One of the things when you lose your ball and your ball's over in Doctor Who Pinball, it's the Master that shows up. So you're like, you just learn to hate looking at that face, man, because he's just so.
Now I want to play Doctor Who Pinball.
Who's got it? I'm trying to think of who has it.
I need to play this now.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty fantastic.
We could turn that into a Next Stop Everywhere episode. So yeah, Roger Delgado.
We totally should. We got to find who's got it, and then we'll go play it, and then it'll be awesome.
That would be awesome. So in addition to Roger Delgado, obviously we get Nicholas Courtney as the Brigadier. We have John Levine as Sergeant John Benton, and the debut of Richard Franklin as Captain Mike Yates, like I was talking about. Michael Wisher, who plays Rex Farrell. Now, if the name Michael Wisher rings a bell, it's probably because, hey, he was the original Davros in Genesis of the Daleks.
That he was.
And which is his big Doctor Who claim to fame. But he was also in the stories Revenge of the Cybermen as Magrick, and a character named what else? Commissioner Kalik in Carnival of Monsters, the one I was just talking about not too long ago.
Right.
So he was in that, and he's done a lot of other like voice cameos, voicing aliens and whatnot throughout the series. But yeah, he's had a good association with Doctor Who, especially, like I said, being the first Davros. That's his big claim to fame. Stephen Jack plays
his big claim to fame.
Farrell Sr., Harry Taub as McDermott. That's the Scottish guy at the plastics factory. You know, the guy you wait to invent transparent aluminum if you're a Star Trek 4 fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? He played Osgood in a Patrick Troughton story, The Seeds of Death.
Really?
Really.
Okay.
Christopher Burgess, who played Professor Phillips in the story. He's one of those radio telescope guys that gets hypnotized.
No, those poor bastards.
Yeah, exactly. So he played Swan in a Patrick Troughton story, The Enemy of the World, which Nick and I talked not too long ago here. John Bascom, who played Luigi Rossini, a.k.a. Lou Russell, as we find out.
A.k.a. the circus guy with the awesome nickname.
Yep. He was in the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And Omen 3, The Final Conflict.
The crappy third one where he's president.
I love that movie because it's Sam Neill is just so cool in that movie.
Sam Neill is fantastic even in crappy movies. Have you ever seen the episode of Space Ghost where he said, "I just watched all 3 Omen movies, even the crappy third one where he's president." So that's why I refer to that movie as that one.
Well, of course, Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor, got killed in the first one.
He sure did.
Pretty nastily, too, with that big impalement right through the... Yeah, that was pretty bad. That was pretty cool.
Yep.
Pretty cool way to go.
Yeah,
Roy Stewart played the strong man in this one, and if he looks a little familiar, it's because he played Toberman in Tomb of the Cybermen.
Did he now?
Yes. Yeah. Toberman.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was also Quarrel Jr. in the Bond movie Live and Let Die. So we have yet another James Bond Doctor Who connection.
Okay. I'll need to watch that one. That's a good one with Yaphet Kotto and all the alligators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And the 7-Up guy.
Oh, Jeffrey Holder.
Yes.
Yeah. Who, since I'm a girl who grew up in the 80s,
yes.
He's Punjab to me.
Good. That's fair.
I refer to him as Punjab most of the time.
That's fair. Yeah. Let's see.
And
when I was a kid in the 70s, that he would be on the 7-Up commercials. He would go,
Crystal clear, 7-Up, no caffeine, never had it, never will.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
when I went my first Motor City Comic Con, I wanted to meet Jeffrey Holder. I got Jeffrey Holder to sign my Annie record.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. He seemed like he would be a very interesting guy to talk to.
He was very interesting, but he's very intimidating, because again, angry eyebrows, and he's got a very imposing and that booming voice, and so you're like, "Hi, Punjab." So he was really sweet though. He was very nice, but a lot of people came up to him with 7-Up bottles.
I'll bet.
And stuff. So
it's probably like, another 7-Up bottle. Good.
People were coming up to Billy D. Williams with Colt 45 bottles too, and I'm like, "What is wrong with you? This is Lando effing Calrissian.
Yeah,
show some respect and get your Star Wars crap signed."
Well, he was pretty well known for those Colt 45 commercials.
He was pretty well known, but he's Harvey Dent, for God's sake. I mean, don't you have anything else you want him to sign that is going to be easier to frame?
I know.
So I don't know.
That's
just
some people are like
just me.
Some people are like that.
That's just me.
So before we get into our main topics, really quickly, I just want to run down some cool trivia on this story.
Cool.
Let's see. First, for the new season, producer Barry Letts and script editor Terrence Dix, the late Terrence Dix, who just passed not too long ago.
That's right.
Rest in peace, Uncle Terrence. They wanted to add new characters, so they thought about how the Brigadier was like Dr. Watson to the Doctor's Sherlock Holmes. So then they okay, well, why don't we just give him a Moriarty as well? And they came up with the Master. So essentially, the Master, obviously a lot of people over the years have made comparisons to the Master being the Doctor's Moriarty. Well, that's because, hey, that's how he was created, intended to be that way. That
makes sense.
Yep, it does. And it makes us really want to see an actual, like, Sherlock Holmes story with, like, the Doctor, the Brigadier, and the Master. How cool would that have been? But
that would have been very interesting. Yeah, some sort of Victorian.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It could have been very cool. Let's see. The scene at the start of episode 3, that, if you remember, that's where the Auton gets hit by a car and goes over a cliff, and then he keeps tumbling and tumbling. And then he gets right back up, like in this complete, like, Terminator moment. If you remember that.
Yes.
And he starts climbing, like, immediately climbing right back up the hill. Well, apparently, this guy named Denny Powell was driving the car instead of Richard Franklin, who played Mike Yates. And the stuntman, Terry Walsh, playing the Auton, fell farther down the slope than intended, injuring himself in the process. However, because he's a man, he got back up on his feet right in the same take and did exactly what he was supposed to do, as if nothing happened.
That's pretty impressive.
That was pretty
cool.
I
have to say.
Yeah. So just like, no big deal. No big deal. I'm fine because I'm a stunt man. And also scenes with a killer doll, the big ugly doll that comes to life. And,
the little plastic devil doll?
Yeah, exactly. And the Auton policemen, when they take their faces off, or the Doctor removes his face and it's an Auton underneath. Yeah. Apparently that freaked out everybody enough that there was this huge controversy in the press at the time. And because they were freaking out that, it's too frightening for children because they'll never trust cops. Because
don't get in an unmarked cop car. That's a good lesson for the kids.
Pretty much. Yeah. So, and and if the cops are hanging out with Autons, then maybe you could worry about it, or the Master, if they're hanging out with the Master, then you could panic, but yeah.
Right.
But apparently this was a thing in 1971 UK. So
interesting.
Yep. So just a little bit of trivia before we get started. All right, so we're going to do 3 topics as usual today. Topic number 1, I want to talk about the third Doctor, Jon Pertwee, Joe Grant, of course, Katy Manning, and Unit. So this will be your Brigadier, your Captain Mike Yates, your Sergeant Benton, all that jazz. And I thought I'd just group all of them together. So obviously we've got the debut of Joe and Mike. And what did you think rewatching this of Joe's introduction?
I liked Joe a little bit better remembering her introduction because she doesn't start out very well, and she is a little bit naive and ditzy compared to Liz.
Right. Intentionally so.
Intentionally so. And basically there's not a lot of what do I want to say? There's not a lot of gusto behind bringing her in.
Right.
The doctor's like, hey, I wanted a scientist. Well, we don't have it in the budget, and she's got a rich uncle. It's basically that.
Yeah. Well, the brigadier chalks it up to like, oh, well, Liz says that all you need is somebody to hand you your test tubes and tell you how smart you are.
Exactly. Liz said that you just needed somebody to fetch you things and stroke your ego.
Yeah.
This is all we'll budget you for that sort of necessity, and she has high placed relatives. So so she comes in as almost being like, daddy gave me a job.
Yeah.
But she's really not. She's very hungry to be the best agent she can be, and while she
we're told she is a trained agent.
She's a trained agent. She's good in cryptology. I mean, she has her strengths,
right?
But just nothing that you really. That the doctor necessarily feels like he needs, because the doctor, regardless of what he's focusing on for the monster of the week, is really trying to get that TARDIS working.
Yes, he just wants the hell out of there.
He wants the hell out of there. And even in this episode, he's, when he finds the master's caravan,
yeah,
and he goes in and he's like, oh, maybe this part will make mine work, and then when it doesn't, he's like, dang it.
Damn it.
Yeah, so I will say, very clever way of stranding the master,
mm-hmm.
and having the master here under budget as usual,
right?
Because that was the whole thing about Doctor Who. It was costing too much money, so let's strand him on Earth somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened with Jon Pertwee. So, but she is very, very eager to be helpful, to be a better agent, to see things in the field. So. There's definitely a lot more to her character than I think her opening origin would lead you to believe.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, she has like the worst first day ever.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
Because she goes there, she gets hypnotized by the master, almost killed several times during the story.
Almost killed, tries to blow everybody up, totally gives away Unit's plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, gives away Unit's plan.
It gets hypnotized into bringing back a bomb and almost killing everybody.
Yeah, almost blows everybody up. Yeah, exactly. So she's not exactly having the greatest first day, but I think the doctor warms to her persistence, where when she follows him and then is able to help him escape, he says, "What are you doing here?" And she said, "Yeah, well, I followed you, and it's lucky for you that I did."
Yeah.
So I think he warms to her persistence a little bit in this episode too.
Yeah, I think so. Because the doctor being so anti-authority, probably really liked the fact that Jo disobeyed orders.
Right, and for the right reasons.
Right, exactly. She was trying to help and was being proactive about it. Wasn't just doing what she was told. And being, that anti-military, anti-authority type of person, that probably appealed to him, which is probably because, obviously the doctor just dismisses her at first, like the tea lady. Oh, wait, only the tea lady and the brigadier are allowed in here.
Right, exactly. And I don't need any tea right now, so get the heck out.
Exactly. So and and once he finds out that she's his assistant, Liz is gone, and he's very turned off, but through the course of the story, of course, Jo either wears him down or really impresses him, or maybe a combination of both. I don't know what, but eventually he warms to her, and it becomes kind of the definitive pairing for his era.
I think so, and
she's his definitive companion. I think.
Right, and I think that. As much as I like Liz,
I do like Liz a lot too.
I like Liz, but when you think about who Liz is, she's kind of wasted as his assistant, which is why she goes back to Cambridge. You can't blame her for trying to use her talents on something that she can talk about. I mean,
well, especially in 1970, where they're like, well, we can't have this woman showing up the doctor. So,
well, not even that. I mean, you have the doctor, you have this alien Time Lord who knows all these aliens that are coming down to Earth, and everything she does, she can't exactly talk about later because it's this top secret unit thing, and you can't necessarily, oh yeah, my old boss was this 900-year-old guy from Gallifrey. I mean, you can't talk about it. So she needs to go somewhere where her work is going to be a little bit more visible, and that's going to be better for her. Yeah. Whereas I think Jo can just rise the ranks, because this is the kind of, I mean, she's an agent. She wants this covert type thing to go on. So
she's obviously trained for it. I mean, she's got, like you said, she's got cryptology skills. She's got escapology skills.
Yeah, she does.
And, she's got, her trusty set of keys to get into any lock. And so she's obviously trained for this, but obviously she's got a lot to prove, probably more to herself than anything.
Well, she's trained for it, but has she put that
to the
training
test?
into? Yeah, no.
Yeah,
she hasn't actually done it.
She's got the classroom knowledge, but she doesn't have the actual field experience to make that useful. Yeah.
Right.
So obviously, Jo's on a bit of a learning curve, and it shows here.
Yeah, but she's, like I said, she's hungry for it. She wants to learn. She wants to do well. So.
Yeah, and obviously she's eager to prove herself, and it's the start of a great relationship between the third Doctor and Jo. Yeah,
I think so, because when you see in Jo's last episode, he's like, "What? No, you can't get married and leave me."
Yeah, he's just like, I can't. She's getting married. I can't deal with this. I'm out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So obviously he becomes very fond of Jo.
He does. He really does. Yeah.
Like how many companions was he willing to go to Metabolus 3 for and bring back a crystal as a gift for their wedding?
I know. I mean, not everybody gets that.
Not everybody gets the Metabolus 3 crystal treatment.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Any thoughts about Mike Yates, who also makes his debut in the story?
Oh, Mike. He's kind of adorable.
Yep. Obviously ends on a bit of a sour note toward the end of his run on Doctor Who. Because if you remember from Invasion of the Dinosaurs, he turns out he basically goes traitor. Because he hooks up with this group.
Yeah.
And then he ends up having to leave unit. But then in Planet of the Spiders, he kind of redeems himself.
Yeah, he does a little bit. It is, you don't want that for him. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. But, you always feel kind of bad for him. So.
Yeah, obviously they decided they needed more of a middle officer to go do the field stuff, more like field op stuff, between somebody to sandwich between the Brigadier and Benton, that kind of middle management guy. And that's the role that he serves here. But,
yep.
All right. Anything else about these characters, Brigadier or Benton or anything else before we move on?
I love Benton. He's so that classic strong jaw, handsome, you know.
Right.
He's and I think Unit, I always did like Unit. I liked the concept of, Unit is sort of to classic Doctor Who what Torchwood is to new Doctor Who. You have this kind of organization that can help you, but this one works within the government, and I love they have all these government struggles, like they don't have the right funding, they don't have the right equipment, they don't have the right facilities. They're just trying to do what they can do.
Right.
And the Brigadier is just sort of like, yeah, okay, whatever, we'll just do what needs to be done. Like he's really trying. But...
Yeah. And he's got the Brigadier's stuck having to deal with all these bureaucrats.
Right, exactly. So he's got a bunch of...
So it's no surprise that he wants to just go out and blow stuff up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's his way he deals with his stress.
Right, yeah. Totally.
He probably pretends some alien off in the distance is he's imagining the minister of whatever, and just blows that thing away.
Just blows it up, yeah.
5 rounds, chap with the wings there, 5 rounds rapid, and that's it.
Yeah. He would have been like the prime minister, just blowing up the planet because they could come back. That he would have made that call, I think, too.
Yeah.
So, but I always did like his character, and they sort of, once he was able to leave Earth a little bit more often, they kind of phased him out a little bit. But,
right. Yeah.
I did like that he was sort of, and there's a certain safety net to the fact that the Doctor is working with this covert government agency. because in real life the Doctor would have just been like immediately imprisoned and vivisected and
exactly
all that stuff. But,
turned into an X-File.
Yeah, exactly. But he has that sort of like, here, call this number, and then like, he just gets out of jail. There's a certain level of comfort knowing that you're not going to have to deal with an episode where the Doctor has to convince people he's not a crazy person,
right?
And because he just called the Brigadier, and the Brigadier can be like, "Yeah, the Queen says let him go." So I do like that about.
It's like, did I happen to show my unit ID card? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is my. This is
unit. This is what we did before the days of psychic paper, you guys. So
yeah. This is my unit.
Like you just. That's why I kept the Brigadier around so much. It's like, see, this guy here. This is my entry pass to get into wherever I want.
Everything I ever want. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I like the safety net unit provides to the Doctor.
Or the way, like after the Doctor mouths off to somebody important, the Brigadier is usually the one to bail him out of trouble.
Yeah, the Brigadier's there to to diffuse the situation.
Smooth things over. Yeah, exactly.
He's like the Doctor's straight man. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, he's great. And Nicholas Courtney is just brilliant.
Nicholas Courtney is wonderful. He's that wonderful mix of
probably one of the best straight men ever.
He's one of the best straight men ever. Just that wonderful mix of that proper Britishness, even in the face of
he's
cartoony aliens and stuff.
He's by and large pretty unflappable.
Pretty unflappable,
except when he's just exasperated with the Doctor.
But you can tell that he's seen some stuff. He's not going to be like, he's not going to be immediately. What plastic? He's going to be like, here we go again.
Well, yeah, and that's the cool thing. It's like he's been through so much. He's just like, okay, tell me what I need and what can I do to get the job done and what can I blow up. I'm good.
Right, exactly.
Yep. All right. If there's nothing else, let's move on to topic number 2. The Master.
All right. The Master. And
you will obey me. Yeah.
Master puppet. All right. Anyway. No, call me Master. Anyway, I like the Master because up until now, the only really sort of Gallifreyan bad guys we've ever really seen are the Tribunal that give him crap. I mean, and they're not bad guys; they're just bureaucratic.
Well, and the monk, the time
monk.
The time meddler, yeah.
So. The time meddler, yeah. But he's more of a Q type of a character,
right?
Just sort of like
annoyance, yeah.
He's like a jester, like I'm going to go through time and tick people off. He's very like he's like Q, like riddle me this,
carefree,
Doctor.
Carefree about this, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, whereas the Master is like a full-on psychopath.
Yes, exactly.
And and when we know that everything the Doctor's capable of and everything the Doctor in the Doctor's knowledge and Gallifreyan technology, that there's got to be somebody out there using his powers for evil.
Yeah.
And there is, and it's the Master, and we finally get that. We finally get to see what would happen if we've talked about.
What if the Doctor was evil?
Right. What if the Doctor was evil? Like we've said before, that Batman is just $1 billion away from being the Joker.
Right.
Like this is if the Doctor were
if Bruce Wayne had one really bad day.
Yeah, if Bruce Wayne had
a second really bad day because of his
he had one really bad day. Yeah. But if he lost all of his money, if he lost Albert, that kind of thing, he would have just been the freaking Joker. And that's the thing. If Doctor Who had gone a different way, if the Doctor had gone a different way, he would have been the Master.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Doctor could have honed his hypnosis skills just like the Master did. But and the Master in this episode,
there's been times that Sylvester McCoy kind of did a little hypnosis, if you remember. So
you got to use your powers for knowledge and defense, never for attack, and that's that
Yes, I think they all have that kind of rudimentary telepathic ability.
They do.
Yeah.
Well, just considering their
the telepathic circuits of the TARDIS. Yeah.
The telepathic circuits of the TARDIS, the psychic paper, all that stuff. So, and there's so many just really insipidly evil things that he does that even just turning the father and son against each other at the plastics factory.
Right.
Just even something like that is just such a small thing, but it's so insidious.
Yeah.
This is you're not just screwing with this plastic factory. You're like ruining a family here.
And he probably just did that for shits and giggles too.
Yeah. Well, he just did it because he has no cares for any collateral damage of anything that he does.
Right. Well, especially humans, big deal, right? So,
right, and that's the thing. And
no big loss.
Right, and he's like, that's the thing. He has no regard for any collateral damage of whatever he leaves in his wake. And the one thing I think is interesting, I think it would be hard to really do an origin story for this, because if you did, it would be some insignificant thing. Like, why does Lex Luthor hate Superman so much? Because Lex Luthor thinks Superman started a fire and he won't listen to reason.
Right.
I mean, and after that, you
cost him his hair. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have like 50 years of, revenge fantasies and evilness and things like that, where you're like, the original catalyst for why they hate each other has totally snowballed into something completely out of hand.
Yeah.
And it's totally insignificant to this day. And I think
like it could have been something like back when they were on Gallifrey and the Academy together,
where they were in Time Lord Academy. He took a girl he liked, and both of them now can't remember her name or something like that.
Exactly. Or Or
and
like
even
he took you borrowed my favorite CD and you won't give it back.
Something like that, or he got the internship and I didn't, or something. Some stupid thing that you don't.
Yeah.
Like when you think about somebody you hated in high school.
Yeah.
And, like you see them at a reunion, you're like, oh yeah, I hate that guy, but why? I don't even remember. And I feel like that is the Doctor and the Master. That even if we did get some sort of flashback origin story with the moment that caused them to go apart from each other, you'd be like, really, that's it? So I just love that the Master just hates the Doctor, and the Doctor just, I don't know if he hates the Master as much as he like belittles him. Just thinks of him as a.
Yeah, well, you notice at the end of this story, the Doctor is just like, oh, hey, the Master might still be out there. That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. So he's like, he kind of gets off on the challenge. Like he's like, maybe on Earth he doesn't feel like he's challenged enough.
Right,
and it's like now the Master's here. Now finally I have somebody worthy of my attention.
Yeah, if they're both still here on Earth, that like the playing field is level.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have his caravan.
And I know where he is because he's
he is.
Right.
Yeah, I know where he is. He doesn't have his caravan. I don't have my TARDIS. So I think they sort of relish their little game of cat and mouse that they've had going on for probably 700 years.
Right. It's totally Holmes and Moriarty. Yeah.
Again, you don't really have an origin story for why Moriarty is out to get Holmes.
Right.
You don't know. So it's just this sort of given that, the sun rises in the east.
It's always been there. Yeah.
Yeah. The Master and the Doctor just hate each other.
Yeah.
But I think he's like a good villain because, like I said, he's very. And anytime he shows any sort of, for lack of a better term, humanity, it's when it benefits him. For example, at the end of this episode, where they said, if they come here, it's curtains for all of us. Basically, he's like, not me. I helped him here. He's like, do you really think they're going to know that you're not human? Like,
right.
They're going to differentiate you from all the other billions of people on this planet? And then the Master's like, oh crap, I think you're right. We got to stop this. So it's like the only time he ever shows any sort of pity or remorse.
Well, it's when it's in his own self-interest. Yeah.
Yeah. It's only when it affects him. It's like, not like you can say, think of the children. He doesn't care about that, but it's like, somebody might kill you. He's like, oh crap, I got to rethink my plan.
Well, that's kind of like he was in Legopolis.
Yeah.
When the Master, if you remember in that story, Tom Baker's final story, where he brings about the end, causes all this entropy, the universe to start to break down.
Right.
And it's only at that point where it starts affecting like his wristband that he was using to control Nyssa.
Yeah.
Then he's like, I may have overstepped this one. help, and without saying it,
Mm-hmm.
of course.
Exactly.
And so then he agrees to help the Doctor save the universe.
He's like a perfect, psychopathic narcissist.
Yeah, right.
He's which Moriarty was too.
Yeah.
So, and I know I said the Daleks were more of the Moriarty. I'm just saying because I feel like they go more hand in hand with each other.
Well, yeah, because they're more like that was the Doctor Who's first big bad.
Well, and they're everybody's favorite.
Yeah, exactly. It's true.
And,
it's true.
And they're recognizable too. I mean, if you showed somebody a picture of a Dalek and then you showed them a picture of Roger Delgado, I think more people would know what a Dalek was.
I agree. You're absolutely right with that.
But
yeah, it's a great point. So
yeah,
they're more the Daleks are more iconic certainly than
they're definitely more iconic. But but the Master is some kind of special psychopath. It's pretty. Now, how many times, Charles, has the Master regenerated that we have seen?
On screen, let's see. Let's run this down. There was the second Master, the kind of decayed version that regenerated into Anthony Ainley in The Keeper of Traken. That was my first Doctor Who story that I watched all the way through.
Really? Okay.
That was my first one. And then we saw, let's see, the Derek Jacobi regenerated into John Sim in Utopia. Mm-hmm. So that was the second time.
Yes, Derek Jacobi, that's right.
And then we saw, when Missy kills the sixth Master, her predecessor, knowing that he's gonna regenerate into her.
Right.
So we didn't actually get to see the regeneration, but it was about to happen. It was starting to happen.
Okay.
When he disappeared down this big shaft in the end of The Doctor Falls.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Peter Capaldi's penultimate story.
Okay.
So really, basically, and I guess we kind of did see in the 1996 TV movie where the little snake master that gets through the Doctor's TARDIS and takes over Eric Roberts' body.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not a.
It's not really a regeneration per se, but
I'm not a big fan of that movie. I'll just say it.
Yeah,
I'm just not.
I love that movie.
I'm not a huge fan of that.
I love that movie. But
I keep saying if Paul McGann is canon, so is Peter Cushing. But
no.
But no, he's not. I know he's not.
Sylvester McCoy was in it. It counts.
Sylvester McCoy was there. He was on the slab. He was there.
It counts.
I know it counts, but I don't like it.
Paul McGann's a great doctor.
He's fine.
You should listen to his Big Finish audios. He's brilliant.
Yeah, his Big Finish audios are fine. There's nothing wrong with him.
And then there was The Night of the Doctor. He was very cool in that.
I just didn't like that movie. I just didn't like it.
Yeah. All right. Well, to each their own.
Maybe it was Eric Roberts. I don't know. I just didn't like it.
It could have been Eric Roberts. A lot of people didn't.
Maybe I should watch it again. I have not. I've literally not watched it in like 20 years. So
I recommend it. But
I should give it a chance again. So
I recommend it. I've got it right here in my library. Just saying.
Nice.
Nice. All right. So where were we? We're talking about the Master. Okay. So
Master.
Got off on a little digression there. Sorry, guys. That's what we do. All right. So anything else about the Master before we move on?
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Kind of talked that one into the ground, probably. All right. Topic number 3, the Autons.
Oh, the Autons are so cool.
You said it were one of your favorite monsters. So
yeah, and I think I said a lot of it earlier when you had asked me what I liked about this episode, and I really like the Autons. I think they're underused. I think they're underrated, and I think they're very scary. This one.
How do you think about how they're used here?
Oh my god, what are those giant mask things that they wear?
They're like giant carnival masks.
Remember
Moonraker, the movie Moonraker, where they have there's this big carnival going on, and Jaws has this big head thing, this big paper mache head on his head, over his head.
Not just carnival characters, carnival characters.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, like some sort of Brazilian carnival with the giant heads and the.
Yes, but they are creepy as hell, aren't they?
They're even with those smile. I mean, and I personally think they're the creepiest when they look like mannequins.
Yeah.
But those giant heads, it's like these big smiling heads coming at you. You're like, what
Yeah.
And then, of course, my favorite thing about the Autons is their guns.
It's like their giant Funko figures come to life.
Something horrifying, yeah. But I love their guns, where it's just the hand, and then the hand folds down, and there's a gun inside. I think that is so cool.
Yeah.
Where you just got like your fingers like hinged down 90 degrees, and then you're shooting, and I think that's really kind of interesting. And like I said, when oh my gosh, what are they actually called? What are the Autons? What are they actually?
The Nestines?
Nestines, yes.
Yeah.
When the Nestines come down and they just infiltrate the plastic.
Right. Yeah.
It could be anything.
It's like it's all body.
This bottle of root beer.
Like it's body snatchers. Yeah.
It's exactly like body snatchers. There's this formless, nebulous creature.
Yeah.
Comes, and we see them at the end of the episode where they're just basically tentacles of light.
Right.
And energy. When they come down and they infiltrate the substance that is all around you, and I still don't know why the master put it in that devil doll. Like, you couldn't have made like something cute. I almost feel like something cute would have been even scarier, but maybe that would have scared children even more, because if you have something that looks like a child's toy that could come to life, maybe they're going to be afraid of their own dollies.
Right.
So I could sort of see that choice, but yeah, that little devil doll just
see now they just need to invade Funkos.
My God, if they invade Funkos,
I'll write that Doctor Who story where they invade Funkos.
Seriously, that would be
the Nestines taking over Funkos would be brilliant.
That's like that scene in Barbarella with all the dolls with the metal teeth. That's just horrible. So yeah, I mean, this innocuous substance that surrounds us all the time. Just looking at everything that's made out of plastic in this room. This is
your
this
lamp,
is my
your CDs,
the CD case. Like everything is made out of plastic in here.
Like the CDs would turn into like blades of death coming at you.
Seriously, like looking up, I've got a one of the claw aliens from Toy Story.
Right.
I have Tundro from the Hercules.
For those wondering at home.
The Skype seems glitchy.
Oops. All right, the Skype is glitchy. I will see. Yeah, I've got a claw alien. I've got Tundro from your Herculoids.
Yep.
I've got Prince Funko. I've got Dr. Ian Malcolm Funko. All kinds of stuff. So that could just come to life and kill me at any moment with that. Oh, you have Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, and it's just a Hannibal Lecter with the face mask.
And
it's strapped to the gurney. Yep.
Oh, and by the way,
the dolly or whatever you want to call it. Yep.
Love your suit.
Love your suits.
Love your suit.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's a scary concept, and the fact that there are these plastic factories that can make just about anything you want to out of plastic, and you can hypnotize the head of the factory to say, "Oh no, this is what we're going to make." This is and even the master, he's like, okay, the clients I have an unlimited need for plastic.
Exactly.
That's pretty scary.
They're really into plastic, you guys.
They really need a lot of plastic, and because there's like hundreds of millions of them, and they're going to come to this planet, and they need a form, and they like plastic.
Well, look what they did with plastic daffodils, for crying out loud.
Oh my God!
They turned it into basically the doctor takes one back to unit headquarters. And Joe just happens to like pull out her walkie-talkie,
be looking at it, and it sprays her
with this plastic resin all over her face that hardens, and so she can't covers her nose and mouth.
That hardens over her breathing passages.
Yeah,
that is terrifying.
Yeah, so plastic flowers of death.
Seriously, that's scary.
Actually, the original episode story title for this story was "The Spray of Death." True story.
Oh, I can see that. See that. But yeah, think about let's think about this.
Spray doesn't sound so menacing though.
No. Let's think about this realistically with what we know about Doctor Who behind the scenes and their budget issues and things like that.
Right.
So, kudos to Robert Holmes for figuring this out, but they probably said, "Hey, we found this crate of like 10,000 plastic daffodils.
What can you do with it?
What can we do with this?" And so we made something incredibly scary. We was like, okay, plastic Autons. All right, we got this. I got this.
Yep.
So
after doing many lines of cocaine. I do cocaine.
I do cocaine. Seriously, dude, a lot of cocaine. But that's the thing. I mean, that's one thing I do love about Doctor Who is, what is the necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes.
And when you've got to be super creative, I think it just comes off as it can come off as extremely iconic.
Yep. Yes.
And
Doctor Who has definitely lived by that motto.
Yeah. What do we got? We got plungers.
Let's do it. We got tinfoil. We got bubble wrap. Go.
Yeah, and we got plungers. What do we do? Okay, we're going to create one of the scariest robots in the history of robots.
Exactly.
I've told this story before that when
got some angel statues in the backyard.
Seriously, yeah.
Make that happen.
There's a part of the Doctor Who experience in London where you walk through like this hall of Daleks, and it is freaking terrifying.
That would be cool.
You feel tense. You feel tense in there because you're just surrounded by.
Were there any Autons?
Yeah, there were.
So how creepy was that? Because that had to be pretty creepy.
That's very creepy. The worst were the Weeping Angels, though, because you're like in this hallway with the Weeping Angels, and you're trying not to blink, and you're running through the hallway because you're just Doctor Who writers are very creative, and they know that they can't necessarily write something that requires a lot of time and a lot of money, so they have to really hone in on your innate fears.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing here. I mean, who isn't? And I'm sorry, my favorite TV show of all time is The Twilight Zone. Right. I'm going to be scared of mannequins, okay? That's just how it works.
Yeah.
And mannequins are creepy. I grew up in the 80s where mannequins had faces and they were bald a lot of the time and just looking at you with their judgy eyeballs. And they're freaky. And even in this one, when you take their masks off and they just have those sort of vacuum form plastic heads.
Yes.
They're using plastic to create masks so they can masquerade as other people.
Mm-hmm.
They're scary. They're very scary.
They are, especially in Mannequin on the Move.
Yeah.
If you remember that.
That's a bad one. Yeah.
That is a bad one.
Mannequin is one of those movies that I will watch if it's on TV. Like every time, I love the movie Mannequin. Like it's one of my guiltiest pleasures of all time.
Right.
I love the movie Mannequin. I love the Starship song. Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. Love it all. And it partially comes from my, my 80s love of Andrew McCarthy. Like I never kind of outgrew my love of Andrew McCarthy.
Got it.
But
I'm gonna give you points for actually openly admitting that.
That's the thing. Yeah. Mannequin 2 on the Move, though, just reminded you how much you liked the original Mannequin, and why can't I be watching that now instead of this movie?
Right. Why am I watching this movie when I could be watching the actual Mannequin movie? Yeah.
Let's just go rent Mannequin.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
All right. Anything else about the Autons before we get moving?
Nope. I think we're good.
All right. Okay, so do you have any favorite quotes that you liked of this story? I know you're a big quotes person.
Yes. My favorite quote from this is, "What's wrong with being childish? I like being childish."
That's a great one. I got that one. Yeah. Go for it. Any others?
I also like when the Time Lord from the Tribunal says, "We know your hearts are in the right places."
Yeah.
I think that's adorable. Just a little reminder that he's, that he has two hearts.
Yeah,
that's fun. What about you?
Yeah, when that Time Lord shows up, he's dressed all like stereotypical British gentleman.
Oh yeah, with a cane and the bowler hat.
And the bowler hat, just like he was an extra that walked off the set of The Prisoner or something.
Seriously, all he needed was like a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was a number 2 in waiting.
Seriously.
So I liked the Doctor at the beginning when he's talking with the Brigadier about Liz, and he's kind of upset that she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And having Joe for a replacement, the Doctor goes, "Liz was a highly qualified scientist. I want someone with the same qualifications." And Brigadier says, "Nonsense. What you need, Doctor, as Miss Shaw herself so often remarked, is someone to pass you your test tubes and to tell you how brilliant you are."
Mm-hmm.
That's a great quote.
Although I want to say, Brigadier, that's Dr. Shaw to you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Right.
Show a little respect for the Liz, okay?
Exactly. Still, yeah, we should. Liz was the Doctor Who spinoff we should have had back in this.
Seriously.
Back then.
Seriously. Yeah, we should have had that. I mean, even if we had it in the last 20 years, like we did the Sarah Jane Adventures, I would have watched the heck out of that.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Another one from the Doctor and to Rossini. The head guy at the circus. So
who reminded me of Freddie Jones, by the way.
Yes, he does, doesn't he?
Like the Freddie Jones character in The Elephant Man. Very similar character. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The Doctor goes, "How much are they paying you?" And Rossini goes, "Come, come, Doctor. Gentlemen don't discuss money." And the Doctor replies, "Nonsense. Gentlemen never talk about anything else."
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good too. I like that one.
That's a great line. Robert Holmes does have some great dialogue.
Yep.
Especially for the classic era. The Doctor and the Master, of course, have some wonderful exchanges.
Mm-hmm.
This is just the first story of many with that. The Doctor says, "You've come to kill me, of course. Come here to kill me, of course." The Master replies, "But not without considerable regret." The Doctor replies, "How very comforting." And the Master goes, "You see, Doctor, you're my intellectual equal. Almost. I have so few worthy opponents. When they've gone, I always miss them."
I like that one too. And that's, that sort of almost comedic, psychopathic villain, very a la Gene Hackman's.
Yeah, exactly.
Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the line go? Something about where he replies almost nobody.
Well, nobody's perfect. Well,
nobody's perfect. That's it. Thank you. Yeah,
almost
so I was
nobody.
blanking on that. Almost nobody.
Almost nobody.
That's one of my favorite lines.
That is one of my all-time favorite lines in that movie. It's where he's saying, I knew you wouldn't be able to resist that because, well, nobody's perfect. Well,
almost nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that line.
Yep.
All right. What's your rating for this one?
My rating is 8 out of 10 plastic daffodils.
Ooh, interesting.
Did I take
I'm a little
yours?
No, but I'm a little higher than you. I actually gave this one a 9.
Okay.
I really like this story. A lot of reasons. You got the first Master, you got the Autons, and Joe's introduced, and it's just it kind of sets that era up nicely. And it's a great dialogue by Robert Holmes, and the pacing's really great in this one.
Yeah,
doesn't drag. So I give it 9 out of 10. Hungry inflatable chairs.
I love the inflatable chair that eats people.
Yes,
that was fantastic.
Yeah, the Master goes tells McCulloch or whatever his name is, and just take a seat, have a seat.
Yeah, just have a seat in this inflatable chair, and it's going to eat you.
And all of a sudden you hear the creepy music go.
Yeah, and then it just folds in on him.
If you notice, he kind of reaches up to make sure the part of the chair comes over him, so he kind of pulls it down a little bit.
Because essentially the chair is just deflating on him.
Right.
That's the thing.
Exactly. It's like, I got to make it look more like it's eating me, so I kind of need to help it along.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, Charles, if I took your rating of daffodils, my other alternative for rating was cups of army cocoa.
That's all right. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I thought that one was good.
Mike Yates, with the Doctor unloads on him, like, you were going after Coco with my Bunsen burner.
You're going to use my Bunsen burner for Coco? Yeah.
Keep your mitts off my Bunsen burner. The other one I was going to use was creepy carnival masks.
That's a good one. I think the reason for my 8 rating, I have 2 reasons.
Yes.
And one of them is just because I wanted to bring this up. I feel like we could have seen more Autons.
Yeah, for Terror of the Autons, we don't see a lot of them.
Right. I feel like we see a lot of plastic flowers and inflatable chairs, and then we see, like I said, those Carnival mask guys are scary, but I still think that they're vacuum formed.
Yeah.
Their vacuum form masks are even scarier, which are probably expensive, which is probably why we only saw 2 of them at a time. But
right.
I would have liked to have seen more Autons, where if you think of Spearhead from Space, you have these armies of plastic-faced people, and
because all the mannequins busting out of windows.
Exactly. And I would have liked to have seen more Autons, and it loses a point for whatever happened to poor little Gooch.
Right?
Did he ever get big again? Did he just stay in the biscuit tin? I mean, what happened to him?
Well, usually anytime the master shrinks anybody, they're dead.
I know, but
With
like,
it-
what did they do?
That's just because just ask Tegan's Auntie Vanessa.
Yeah, that's true. But I just felt it's like he's just there in the biscuit tin and
Yeah.
we never talk about him again.
Yeah, I know.
So
I'm just going to close this lid and we'll just pretend this never happened.
the next person that wants hobnobs is in for a very rude awakening.
Nice. It's like, I need something to go with this tea. Oh my God!
It's the ghost of Mike TV. What the hell happened here?
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. I love doing this podcast with you. It's so much fun. It's so much damn fun.
We have a good time, don't we, Charles?
I think so.
Yeah.
I hope you do, because I would feel really bad if I'm the only one.
I do.
If I'm the only one having a good time with this, I would feel really bad. All right, so reverse the polarity. We should probably move things along. Obviously, I'm going to go back to 2005 with Rose.
Rose, of course.
as we talk about.
Yep.
The first episode of Series 1, so the very first episode of Modern Who, New Who, and written, of course, by Russell T Davies. And deep breath, everybody. In 2005, London, Rose Tyler wakes up to a digital alarm clock and goes to Henrik's, the department store where she works. Later that evening, Rose enters the storage room and is disturbed to see a group of moving shop window mannequins that surround her and raise their arms to kill her. All of a sudden, though, a man calling himself the Doctor takes hold of her hand and tells her to run. Run for your life.
Just run. And
Yep.
in
that deep resonant Christopher Eccleston voice.
And see, that is an episode that I absolutely adore because I think Autons are underrated and I think Christopher Eccleston is very, very underrated.
Yeah. I love that episode even more after going to England and walking around Westminster Bridge and the whole down by the London Eye and everything at night.
Yeah.
So I can definitely appreciate that episode a lot more after doing that.
That is super creepy when you're down there. But I feel like the Christopher Eccleston era. I could have I mean, nothing against David Tennant or anything like that, but that could have lasted for years for me. I absolutely adored Christopher Eccleston's Doctor.
Yeah.
So
it's just sad that he at the time was not really feeling the idea of doing a second season.
No, he wasn't feeling it, and fortunately, we do have, we
got a good consolation prize with David Tennant.
We did have a good consolation prize with David Tennant, and the Doctor does have that built-in fail-safe where if somebody is unable to fulfill their duties as Doctor, you can just easily get a new one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're replaceable, just like something easily replaceable that isn't coming to mind right now. All right. After a second encounter with the Doctor, though, Rose contacts a conspiracy theorist named Clive for information about the Doctor, and Clive shows her photographs from various points in Earth's past that contain the Doctor, but interestingly, only the Ninth Doctor. No other Doctors, apparently.
Well, Clive's not very good at what he does, frankly.
No, he's not.
I mean, let's be honest. Clive's kind of a dumbass.
Well, he's working out of his shed in the backyard. So.
Yeah, he's not exactly the lone gunman, Yeah,
nice. Great analogy. So Rose meets up with her boyfriend Mickey, who has been replaced by an Auton duplicate.
Mickey!
Apparently, Rose is very blind and not noticing how plastic-looking her boyfriend looks.
Poor Mickey. Mickey gets the shaft in a lot of ways.
Yes, he does, especially in this episode.
He's the tin dog.
He's the tin dog. The Doctor arrives just in time to save her, and the two escape outside where the Doctor's blue box is waiting. With nowhere to go, Rose follows them inside at the last second and is stunned that the inside of the box is, surprise, bigger than the outside.
Bigger on the inside, yep.
Yep. The Doctor explains that his blue box is called the TARDIS and that both he and it are alien. After the Doctor is captured by Autons later in the story, Rose frees the Doctor and pushes the Autons, along with a vial of antiplastic, into a vat containing the Nestine consciousness. The vial leaks and the Nestine consciousness dies in pain. Which is probably why we haven't seen it again. the transmitter controlling the Autons shuts down, and all the Autons return to lifeless mannequins once again.
The transmitter, by the way, is the London Eye, which
yes,
I
exactly.
thought was pretty brilliant.
Right. Another reason I had to see the London Eye when I was there.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. As Rose is about to return home, she hears a familiar wheezing noise and sees the TARDIS materialize. The Doctor emerges to tell Rose that the TARDIS can also travel in time.
And Rose just runs for the TARDIS.
Right, exactly. She takes, without much thought, she looks at Mickey, kisses him goodbye, and runs straight into the TARDIS to start her new life in time and space.
Told you, Mickey gets the shaft a lot. I feel bad for
Pretty much.
And then we find out in the second episode that the Doctor...
So it's hooray for a loyal girlfriend, gonna stay... Yep. No, some guy you haven't known more than a day shows up and
some tall guy in a leather jacket comes with a cool car.
That's like twice your age.
Yeah. And we find out in the second episode that the Doctor has severely miscalculated their date of return. Yes. Rose has been gone not 9 hours, but 9 months. Mm-hmm. And everybody's pretty sure that Mickey just murdered her. I always felt really bad for him, because another thing that I watch a lot of, Charles, is like forensic crime shows. So that is very true. The boyfriend's the first one that you suspect. And so he went through, he got to be questioned by the cops a lot, and he's dealing with the fact that she's missing, but nobody cares because they think he killed her, and so Mickey gets the shaft, poor guy.
Tonight on Forensic Crime Files.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to Rose Tyler?
Rose Tyler, boyfriend Mickey Jones says he doesn't know, but is he hiding something?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Why is he lying?
Excuse me, Mickey Smith, not Mickey Jones. Yeah.
Mickey Jones was in the Monkees.
That's
Davy Jones, but I'm thinking Mickey Dolenz.
Mickey Dolenz, yeah. I just got my names wrong. That's all.
Yeah. Mick Jones was with the Clash. So
that's very true. Yes, he was. Okay. But I feel bad for Mickey sometimes.
Yeah. Mickey the idiot. Yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah, and the Doctor's not exact. I mean, the only person the Doctor might be a bigger jerk to is probably Rory.
Kinda. Yeah, kinda.
Doctor's not
at least starting
off. Starting off. I mean, he gets a little bit better with Rory, but he's not particularly. Yeah,
the Doctor gets better. The Doctor gets better with Mickey once he regenerates.
Yeah, he does. He definitely does. Well, and the Doctor's kind of a weird. He's got this thing where he's not going to have a relationship with his companions, but he kind of hates it when other people do.
Right, exactly. I'm not going to have her, but I don't want anybody else with her.
But
either.
He's gonna run down any guy that she's interested in.
Yeah.
So Doctor can be a little bit toxic. I'm just saying.
And just a slightly passive aggressive.
A little bit. Oh, slightly. Yeah. He's
okay. A lot passive aggressive.
He can be. He's pretty bad sometimes. But
pretty much.
I'm a little more forgiving of him now because he kind of doesn't have a planet. He's been through some crap, So I feel
it's back now. So
yeah, that's true. I'm thinking more of Christopher Eccleston and Tennant, how they
he's fresh out of the Time War, and so he's the PTSD Doctor.
He's got some PTSD going on,
pretty much. All right, feedback. We did get some feedback this week, so hooray for Holly Mack. So Holly from
Holly's
Wisconsin,
here. All right,
Holly checks in. Hello, Charles and Xan. So Xan getting the shout out.
Thanks, Holly.
She's writing in about Terror of the Autons, of course. Third Doctor and Unit story. Poor Joe getting the brush off at first from the Doctor. I think he's missing Liz a bit and doesn't want to admit it.
I think you're absolutely right, Holly.
Yep. The other Time Lord that came to visit and warn of the Master was lucky not to get taken out with some Venusian Hapkido. I would suggest Venusian Aikido. Good luck indeed. Let's strand you somewhere without being able to blip in and out and see how you do, bud. Obviously referring to the Doctor taking the Master's dimensional that circuit, the dimensional stabilizer or whatever. Yeah. Note to self: don't sit down in any black garbage bag, tar-like chair.
Nope.
Not going to end well. Nope. The Master's still devious as ever.
Yes, he is. He's quite the psychopath.
Forgot how creepy looking the Autons were in this from the reboot. Those costumes in yellow that the Autons are using with the face with reminds me slightly of Tattoo from Fantasy Island.
Okay.
So like the faces look like Hervé Villechaize.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I can kind of see that too. We'll never look at yellow flowers the same way again.
Nope.
The Master got lucky with the Autons and the Nestine not turning against him. The Master got away to irritate the Doctor another day.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the Doctor is pretty... he shows some mercy on the Master. He's like, look, you got to... this isn't going to end well for you either. And then the Master's like, oh, yeah, you're probably right.
Well, the Doctor probably realized he needed the Master's help, but wasn't going to admit it.
It wasn't going to admit it, so he played it up.
Manipulated him.
Which is what you have to do with the Master.
Pretty much.
You can't play it straight with him.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see what else. Even with the Doctor swiping the Master's dematerialization circuit, that's what I was trying to think of. To paraphrase the Terminator, he'll be back.
He'll be back.
Yep. And let's see. I'll wrap it up here. That's it. Holly was from Wisconsin. So thank you, Holly, for writing in.
Thanks, Holly.
Always love to hear from you because I got a text from Holly like yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, is there still time to get something in before recording? And I said, well, we're recording tomorrow night. So she goes, okay. And then,
awesome.
And then emails. So that was awesome of her to do that. So cheers, Holly, for getting in just under the wire because we're kind of recording a little early this week because, hey, Halloween.
Because Halloween, yes.
Yeah. Normally our Thursday evening schedule kind of gets a little shifted this time.
Yep.
So if you want to be like Holly, and please do, write to us at nextstopeverywheresmg@gmail.com, the Gmail. nextstopeverywheresmg@gmail.com. Or you can reach us on the Twitter machine at nextstopsmg for, of course, Southgate Media Group. On Facebook, Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who Podcast, and on Instagram at Next Stop Everywhere Podcast. We'd love to that if you would please like and follow us there. Xan, where can they reach you on the interwebs?
I am on the Twitter and on the Instagram as Udinax19.
Right.
And I am on Facebook as Xan Sprouse. And you can also get a hold of me through the Ghostwood pages on Facebook and the Twitters. And what about you, Charles?
Well, isn't there a certain podcast that you do you may want to talk about?
That's what I said, the Ghostwood. Yeah, Charles and I do Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast, where we talk about all things Twin Peaks, all things David Lynch, all things wonderful and strange. And so if you're...
a lot of pop culture references.
A lot of pop culture references. So if you like David Lynch, if you like Twin Peaks, if you like pop culture, come join us under the sycamore tree.
Yes.
Because that's where we hang out all the time. Yep.
Exactly.
Next time we do our podcast, we are going to be talking about the greatest episode of anything in the history of television. So you might want to...
The Return Part 8
from 2017. Yes, which is, even if you haven't watched Twin Peaks: The Return, you should just watch that because it is the most beautiful hour of television you will ever see in your entire life.
It is probably the most mind-blowing thing you will ever watch.
It's just gorgeous and wonderful. So
yeah, pretty cool.
I highly recommend it, even if you're going in cold.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Just dive right in, just like you do with Doctor Who. Dive right in.
Just dive right in.
All right. As for me, of course, at Charles Skaggs on Twitter, at Charles Skaggs on Instagram. Facebook, of course, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio, and my blog, Geek Things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. We're talking about all the stuff we talk about here on Next Stop Everywhere. Your Doctor Who, your Torchwood, your Sarah Jane Adventures, all kinds of comic book sci-fi news in my other podcasts that I do for Southgate Media, including the aforementioned Ghostwood Twin Peaks podcast. And Titan Talk, the Titans podcast they do with Jesse Jackson, where we're talking all the stuff right now of Titans on DC Universe, all the episodes and going through season 2. That's a blast. And also Jesse and I are going to kind of relaunching or restarting up the Fandom Zone podcast a little early because we're dying to talk Watchmen.
I was going to ask if you guys are going to get to Watchmen pretty soon.
We couldn't wait. We were like, we have no time for this, but somehow we're making time.
We're making time for it, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, 4 podcasts a month, sure, why not? Let's go for it. So yeah, because we got to talk Watchmen because we're on episode 2. Watch that Sunday, so good, you guys. Highly recommend watching this.
I got to start DVRing it. I haven't watched it yet.
So good, and the cool thing is, right now they're doing with Watchmen. If you remember the original comic book series by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, they had at the end of each issue, Alan Moore had a bunch of back matter where you had all kinds of government reports or news clippings or book excerpts, what have you, that kind of supplemented the story. Well, Watchmen, the TV series, is kind of doing something similar. They set up a website called PDpedia, named for this FBI agent whose last name is Petey.
Okay.
And apparently they're posting once a week after every episode airs. They're posting a bunch of new supplemental material in the form of PDFs. PDF
cool.
files.
That's really cool. I love it when they do interactive stuff like that.
Right. Well, that's what they're doing, and it's very cool. And you can download these episodes or these PDFs right now, and they give a lot of background that they have a lot of stuff that you may be wondering about the show, where certain characters are, what happened. And if you go through these PDFs, you're going to find a lot of the answers.
That's super cool.
So these things actually matter.
Nice.
And so I highly recommend checking that out, especially if you're that kind of geek that loves that kind of supplemental material.
And I am for sure that kind of geek.
So highly recommend. So it's very cool that Watchmen is doing that. And that's obviously something we're also going to discuss.
Cool.
When the Fandom Zone podcast returns. We're going to record our first episode on that this Sunday.
Well, I'm excited.
So it's probably Monday. If you're Monday, what is it? The
4th.
4th. Thank you. That's when you be able to check us out. So
Sweet.
Please do. All right. So Xan, anything else you want to talk about before we head off? I know we've been talking a lot as usual.
No, I think we're good. I think we're good.
All right. So thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. As always, I love talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Especially getting to talk Doctor Who with you is always fun because we don't do it all the time.
I know. It's fun to switch gears with our geekiness. It's nice.
It is. It kind of freshens things up a little. I like that.
It's good.
And so next time, though, on Next Stop Everywhere, come on back, episode 160 of Next Stop Everywhere, where we're going to talk The Waters of Mars.
Nice.
From one of the last episodes that David Tennant did during his run. So this is the one with the Time Lord victorious little meltdown at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And Lee Leonard, who you've heard a couple times here on Next Stop Everywhere, is coming back to talk the Waters of Mars with me. And it should be a lot of fun because there's a lot to unpack about that one and a lot to discuss, especially the whole Time Lord victorious thing, if you remember.
Yeah.
So, and you got some pretty cool, monsters with the flood, with the water dripping down their faces.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, and the annoying gadget robot.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot to talk about with that.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. So, should be a lot of fun. So come on back, everybody. Next Up Everywhere 160 with The Waters of Mars with Lee Leonard. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll see you next time right here. Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Goodbye, everybody.